AngelHack is a female-owned, female
was one of two women out of maybe 12 in my class to graduate. And thinking about it, I didn't really have any kind of motivation or any, experience with what it's like to be a woman in the industry, and I wasn't exposed to anything like that. So now that I'm thinking about it, I think it's really important for us to kind of, show face and, like what everybody else has said, really inspire and show other women that we're here, and it's,
to be babied. Um,
Like, and I can, because I don't really get that. Like, I definitely get kudos to push me to be better, but in social settings, I definitely have encountered that where people, I can just tell, like, on their face, and then they're kind of like going through, like, how old is she, and like, what's her background, and yeah, how did she do this, and yeah, so I think that, yeah, that'd be my answer. Anyone else?
I have one, and I know that all of you probably have they actually did all that. So yeah, that's what I've encountered as a common phrase that I get.
As Kelsey was saying, I'm 19, so I'm still in college. So when I talk about my job or people ask what I do, I get kind of the same reaction where it's like, oh, what's the same as you were saying, oh, you do all that, and then they ask me to explain a hackathon and everything, so it's kind of the same idea. And I get it too in social settings a lot, especially being so young, I guess.
me, honestly, being not technically in the field,
So, but yeah, I think if I'm at like a conference or networking event, probably because there's more people surrounded by you, there's definitely a lot more things going on. And I wrote about this in my blog, but quite a funny experience actually happened. And I don't really let these things bother me anymore. But I was leaving an event with Sabine and also our new male intern. And this guy from a large tech company came like running out after us, was like, AngelHack, like, wait, stop, like, talk to me, like, in the middle of the street. So we're like, okay, like, sure, like, what questions do you have? And he was asking all of his questions to our male intern. And so I'm just like, kind of like, okay, like, I'll see if he's going to be able to answer. And he's just like stuttering. And he couldn't answer his questions correctly, so I had to jump in and I nailed it. But I never heard from the guy again. But just certain things like that happen, and I think a lot of it is done unconsciously. Also, I think he might have been drunk, so maybe he wasn't in the correct thought process. But those things do happen. But I don't know. It's not really something that happens on a regular basis, and to me, like, I kind of just laughed about it afterwards and thought how stupid the guy was. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thanks, Jess. All right, so
I'm too casual, like when I'm talking to people, be it clients and just like the community, because I'm used to like community management. So I've noticed that a lot of people don't take you seriously when you do that, and it's like they're usually surprised by what I'm saying just because, I'm saying it in maybe a less formal manner. So that's definitely something I've experienced, like as well as sexism, ageism, I feel like is definitely exists in the industry, and it's kind of funny to me because I feel like with tech, we've got like 18 year-old millionaires that are doing great things. So that shouldn't be an issue. But yeah, I mean, I like Jess said, I still laugh it off and just find it funny. But yeah, I've definitely experienced that, maybe more than sexism, I would say.
Interesting. So the biggest thing, it's a problem. It's a problem that continues to crop up. And I think tech as a whole, the industry as a whole, is recognizing that. And there's been a lot of different strides by large companies to try and find ways to start to fix that. Sometimes they're really good. Sometimes they're choices to move down. Sometimes they're missteps. So the one that made the news recently, I think just today or yesterday, was Facebook and Apple offering to freeze women's eggs in order to allow them to have a career. Not fully kind of thought out. Some of those have gone on. There's a ton of other examples. I'd love to hear some of your guys' thoughts. What do we think of, like I said, there's the good ones and then there's the not so good ones. And what do we think about that? Is it a positive movement that people are trying to make a change? Or should people hold off until there's kind of an agreement, especially possibly by the women of a company, to ensure that the right moves are being made forward?
I was actually the most scared of this question when we were going through the questions. Am I supposed to say we went through the questions? Anyways, I was most scared to answer this question because I was worried actually that, I'm newer at AngelHack. I've only been here for a month. I was nervous that my coworkers might not agree with me, which is hilarious because they all agreed with me. And we felt like, I think, hands down, women should be able to have babies whenever they want in their careers. And I think we all agreed on that, and we all agreed there's kind of a weird thing with egg freezing that implies that you can't work hard and have a career and run a business like our boss does and have children. Two kids, actually. Small and rowdy, from what I've heard. So I think that, but at the same time, I think we should appreciate and embrace that companies are trying to give women options, and I think people just misfire sometimes, or don't think about kind of the full perspective of what's happening. One woman who I saw speak recently that might be controversial for some, but is Anne-Marie Slaughter. And she got really slammed a while ago for saying, actually, you can't lean in unless you have a whole cadre of, okay. But I think the big thing is both sexes kind of need to lean in, and if you decide you want to have a family and you want to have kids, which not everybody does, there need to be resources for both of those genders to approach that problem. And I think egg freezing is a choice for some, it's not a choice for others, but that's the real way to address this issue, in my opinion.
So it's funny you bring that up because I nearly mentioned this and I decided to move away from it. But one of the things that I do think has been positive is paternity leave, which has started cropping up a lot more in American corporations, especially in the tech industry. I've started seeing, obviously, started really in Scandinavia and has started to spread out. Personally, I do think that's a move forward for a lot of companies by offering that up and kind of creating more of a balance in that sense of saying, me as woman, obviously, but me as woman does not need to necessarily head home to take care of the kids. Me as man can also go home and take care of the kids and offer that up. For me personally, that I never thought that was strange. My mom went back to work about 2 weeks after I was born, and I grew up with a lot of family and friends, and so for me, that was never a strange concept. It wasn't until I was older I realized how odd of a concept that might be. Any other thoughts on that question? Yeah.
I definitely think with this question, it always makes me think also of class issues because there is a difference. Certain women with
mom is hard, but it's hard being a mom.
I don't think that men can just have kids and the women need support.
But I actually heard
But I
becoming more aware. Um,
All right. Hopefully coming up to the end of our time, but I do want to kind of ask one big last question. We've touched on it.
Schools.